Windows 8 extremely high disk usage and slow I/O. Problem. After upgrading from Windows 7 to Windows 8 Professional, there seem to be a few disturbing problems. When I have the Task Manager open, I sometimes notice the disk usage climbing to 50, 75, or 100%, even though there's scarcely any disk activity going on. When I sort the processes by disk usage, it's always the system process that's doing it, but the amount of data it's transferring seems to have no effect on the recorded disk usage. I've seen Task Manager say 100% disk usage with 0.1 MB/s being written by the system process, and do the same with 20 MB/s being written by system. Whenever this happens, the mouse seems to work fine, in that I can still move it around without it lagging, but any sort of I/O happens on a massive delay. If I try to click things, the click only registers a few minutes later. If I try to type anything, nothing happens. Then after a few seconds the entire sentence appears. Sometimes, rather than the actual actions happening on a delay, after a few seconds I'll hear a series of beeps corresponding to every key press or click. The problem has gotten exponentially worse today though. Previously, it occurred seemingly at random, although I thought it might have happened a little more frequently when Chrome was running, but now it starts as soon as I start my system and makes the entire computer unusable. I was able to ignore this problem until now, but it has become so obstructive to work that I need to fix this soon. Diagnostics. Other sources I've seen have suggested checking for disk errors. I ran chkdsk, and it said that everything was fine, though I haven't run it since this latest incident. I haven't tried booting into safe mode yet, mainly because Windows 8 boots almost too quickly to use the hotkeys, but I'll update once I do. I know I've seen posts that suggested faulty hardware, but I would imagine that chkdsk would have found that. I've also seen a suggestion that it might be some sort of inefficient storage software, but the only thing that I have is Intel ISD, which I've disabled. One interesting thing to note was that a few months ago, when this had only happened maybe once, I looked at the Windows Performance Diagnostics to find that it was reporting that nearly half of my system events were being lost. I don't know if it's relevant, but I never managed to fix it, so I suppose it could be related. Finally, I've seen numerous sources suggesting running in SperfTrace, which I did a few weeks ago during a momentary instance of high disk usage and lag. I've attached it here. Sorry if you need a Microsoft account to download, but it's the only cloud storage I had that had 100 megs of space left. It looks to me like it might have been caused by CrashFlame, with which I've found I've had some problems with the backup engine crashing and my not being able to kill the service. When this happens though, I don't get high disk usage every time, so it might be the disk usage that's crashing CrashFlame, not the other way around. I'm afraid I haven't been able to get in SperfTrace from the current state of the machine, as it's running too slowly for me to even open the folder where I have the .bat saved, but if I do, I'll post it. Specs. HP ProBook 6460B running Windows 8 Professional. 8GB DDR3. Intel HD graphics. 2.4 GHz dual-core processor, i5. HDD, 300 GB, not sure about the transfer rate. Please help me out if you know anything, as I desperately need this laptop for school, which, incidentally, is the same reason I can't just reinstall Windows. Update 10/2013. Since this problem was resolved, I've had to reinstall Windows for unrelated reasons. What I've found out through the advice of friends and coworkers is that the massive disk usage on Windows systems has been around since the early days, and the problem has only been exacerbated by Windows 8. My laptop runs smoothly, but I still notice the disk active time climbing on occasion, even when the system seems otherwise idle. Thanks to the addition of the disk monitor to the task manager, and the resulting gain in attention this quirk had undergone, perhaps MS will make strides to streamline the Windows kernel in future versions to prevent potential problems. Clarification 1/2015. Since this question is still getting views and upvotes, I feel it's worth mentioning something I've learned since it was written. The high disk usage occurs when Windows runs low on RAM and begins moving the contents of the RAM over to pagefile.sys. On systems with some sort of an error, usually a slow or defective hard drive, that can cause the entire system to freeze up. Since it's the process of writing to the page file itself that slows down the computer, increasing the size of the page file is unlikely to fix the slowdowns. While I'm still not sure whether the problem was fixed by running chkdsk or deleting that virus, if you've run into the same problem and can't seem to find any software reason behind it, it's worth considering that it may be time for some hardware upgrades. Installing more RAM will mean that Windows needs to write to the page file less often, and a faster hard drive will mean that writes to the page file will be less noticeable.
Never mind, I ran chkdsk/v/f/scan-now-c column, which, upon restarting my computer, went for about a day, all the while saying it was stuck at 30%. But when it was on again, I disabled all the processes running that didn't seem absolutely essential, and started Chrome, and it worked fine. I'm not sure which solved it, but I'll start re-enabling the processes one by one and post about it if I find the culprit.
I've been using Windows 8 since its launch and I also came across the same issue. Point is, how did I resolve the issue? Windows 8 automatically manages virtual memory and paging file size by default. It doesn't set virtual memory as per the internal recommendation. The virtual memory set by default is approximately 70% of the recommendation. For example, for my laptop, it recommends 2003 MB of virtual memory wherein each drive size is of 100 GB and amp. RAM is 3 GB. By default it got set to 1403 MB when Windows 8 was installed. You need to increase this virtual memory. Make it equivalent to your RAM size for the initial size and twice of the initial size and maximum size, and make sure you have the same amount of free space in your hard drive in each drive. To do this, follow the following steps. Go to Control Panel in GT, all Control Panel items in GT, System. Click on Advanced System Settings. Under Performance, click on Settings. Go to Advanced tab. Under Virtual Memory, click on Change. Uncheck Automatically Manage Paging File Size for All Drives checkbox. Select your Windows drive, where OS is installed. Click on Custom Size Radio button. Set initial size equivalent to your RAM size in MB. Set maximum size to twice of your RAM size in MB. Click on Set. Click on OK thrice. Restart your system. This should resolve this issue.
I'm gonna tell what has happened to me and how I managed to solve my particular problem. I'm using the word particular because I think that every system is an ecology and its interactions, even being very similar, each environment is somehow unique. Therefore, this is the solution that I've found. The environment. HP Pavilion DM4 i7 CPU RAM 6 GB, HDD 700 GB. Windows 8 Pro 64-bit upgraded from Windows 7. Antivirus software, Norton 360. Internet browser, Chrome. Virtualization software, VirtualBox. About a week ago I started to have problems with all my virtual machines that became unresponsive. After shutting down the virtual environments I realized that it was the host machine. I thought that this was due to some update from MS, and started to track down the problem. The activity time percentage shown by MS Resource Monitor was of a 100% all the time, but the I/O was of something around 30 kilobits when there was some I/O, and most of the time it was 0 kilobits. What I found was that every time that my machine was trying to interact with the internet, these inactive, or ghost if you prefer, activity appeared and never ended, like some kind of worm, but no related with the CPU nor the RAM. So, the reasoning was there is a conflict with Chrome and some update. I uninstalled Chrome and restarted, then started using MSE, and problem back, so I told to myself. The problem looks related to disk, but it is triggered by the interaction with the network. What is controlling the interaction with the network? Firewall? Yes. I opened Windows Firewall and appears that Norton 360 is managing the configuration, and, in services appears that MS Firewall is running. So I stopped the service to see what was happening and restarted it, and after that I restarted the machine to see if the solution was good. This is nearly the 10th time that I have restarted my machine in the last hour and is performing in a very good way. The virtual machines are running as before. I'm guessing that there was an update that I do not notice that was going to be applied and started having some understanding problems between Norton 360 and MS Firewall, creating the problem that I was experiencing. I didn't do the Hyper-V installation because I use VirtualBox, and in the past I had problems with my VMs. It takes the processor virtualization feature and does not allow VirtualBox to see it, making crash the virtual machines. Hope that this helps to people with similar problems. Best regards.
Here is a fix that worked for me. Enable Hyper-V in Windows 8. To do this, open Control Panel and choose the option Turn Windows Features on or off. There is an option Hyper-V, put a check on the box and the sub-boxes as well. Apply the changes and restart the computer. You are done. Hope this helps.